morning, Zion family. Welcome to another episode of Faith Stories. My name is Maggie, and today I will be giving you a story of how I gave birth to my first child. Now, as usual, we know we go into labor with different timings. So I went to the hospital in the morning. I told them I was feeling pain. So they told me to go back home, which I did. And in the evening, I went back to hospital. So I was admitted and I stayed through the whole night, and my labor was quite smooth. I was even looking at people in the labor room and I'm wondering, why are these ladies behaving like this? Why do they can't control themselves? I was really wondering. The whole night I was very composed, everything. I was doing a good job. So it reached the morning, 8 a.m., and normally the doctors change their shift. So the doctor came and they said, I've been laboring for the whole night and still I had not dilated past 6 centimeters. So they said that I should be going for a CS. Then I was given some documents to sign. And then one doctor came and said, let me induce this girl and give her up to 1 p.m. If 1 p.m. reaches and she hasn't given birth, we will go ahead with a CS. Then I was induced. It's a drip they give you. At this point when I was induced, you remember those ladies that I was saying, they don't know how to control themselves. They're shouting all over. I was those ladies. It was my turn. It's like the villagers had remembered me. And let me tell you, when you are induced, it is pain back to back and you literally have no time to breathe. And I remember, you see the scrubs that they put on you, it's just tied by a rope at the back. I opened it because with pain you feel so hot. So I opened it, I threw it, and I was walking with the drip naked in front of everyone. I was that woman who had no decorum. I was walking with it, and all I could think about, all I could say is, God, please help me. God, please help me. My family members were outside because they couldn't be let inside. So I was in there, and all I could say was, God, help me, because there's literally no one to help you. This is the point that the nurses tell you, where's your Kwanzaa? People have been through this. So you're thinking you're alone. It is you and your God. So it reached 1 p.m. and they told me, please come to the bed. We need to check if you have dilated further or we go through with a CS. So they checked and they said, here's the head. And just like that. But now on this, when it reached that point, I gave birth normally, but not normally. Because I had labored for a whole night and morning. I hadn't eaten anything, so I was already weak. So I didn't have the energy to push out my son. So what they opted for is a method called vacuum method. It's a vacuum that they use. They tell you to push, and then they use the vacuum to pull out the kid. So when the kid comes out, the head bumps into that thing. And my son was born, and he didn't cry. I reached a point where I told myself, it's okay. I literally made peace with it because I remember very clearly when my sisters and my husband were let to come in and see the child, they were asking me, Maggie, how's the baby? And I was looking this other side. I didn't even want to face the child, and I just told them, I don't know, because he wasn't crying. I've been in the labor the whole night and morning, and I've had kids are born and they're crying, but mine isn't crying. So I made peace with it. And then the same doctor who actually said, let me induce this girl, came and told me, I'm going to inject your son with something called phenobab. The purpose of this phenobab is to relax the brain completely because of the impact that was there when I was giving birth with the vacuum method. So they injected my son, and he didn't cry. I went home with a child who was not crying, and he didn't cry for 2 good weeks. I literally got used to it because I kept on asking them, is he going to be okay? And then they told me, just go home. Just go home. Atakuwa sawa. He didn't cry for 2 weeks. And I always remember after 2 weeks, one day he cried. I was with my sister. I literally threw the baby to her because this was new. He was not used to crying. He was not used to crying. And up to date, I'd actually say my son he's healthy. He's good. He's fine. And in this whole story, the verse that comes to my head is from the book of Proverbs, chapter 19, verses 21, that says, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. The nurses had planned for me to go for a surgery, but the will of God that I was not going to go through the surgery prevailed. The will of God that my child would be born well happened. So sometimes I know we might be going through something that you in your head, you feel that you don't know how it's going to work out. You've already given up in your head. But just have faith. Have faith and trust God that His will prevail. Because I always believe that God is not an author of confusion. Thank you.